Why did Captain Ibrahim Traoré order helicopters to rain down hundreds of tons of sunflower seeds across the skies of southern and central Burkina Faso? At first glance, it looked like a gamble, almost reckless. But behind it was a bold attempt to rescue the nation's independence. For decades, Burkina Faso depended almost entirely on imported cooking oil. Millions of dollars flowed out of the country each year into the hands of foreign corporations. To many, cooking oil seemed small compared to gold or cotton. But in reality, it was essential, used in every kitchen, every meal, every day. And whenever global prices shifted or shipping routes were disrupted, the effects were immediate. Families rationed food. Street vendors raised prices. Farmers already struggling with poverty felt crushed by rising costs. To Ibrahim, this was more than an economic problem, it was a symbol of unfinished liberation. He asked himself, how can a nation truly be free if it cannot even fry its own food without permission from abroad? His answer was radical: turn the savannas into seas of sunflowers. Sunflowers aren't just beautiful. They produce healthy oil, create protein-rich animal feed, improve soil quality, and even attract tourists. A single crop could strengthen multiple weak points in the economy. But there was a catch. Burkina Faso had no tradition of growing sunflowers on a large scale. The safe option would have been small pilot projects. Traore rejected that. Instead, he went for shock and scale. He ordered the military to use helicopters, normally reserved for defense, to scatter 150 tons of sunflower seeds over the land. He called it the Fields of Sovereignty. The move stunned his ministers. Why scatter seeds instead of carefully planting? Why risk so much money on an untested crop? But Traore saw the spectacle itself as strategy. The sight of helicopters sowing seeds from the sky would burn into memory a message to every farmer, every citizen, and the entire world. Burkina Faso was planting its independence. And so, from the Ouagadougou airstrip, helicopters lifted into the sky. Not with weapons or soldiers, but with giant sacks of sunflower seeds. The capital buzzed with rumors. Was this a secret military mission? An emergency relief drop? Few could believe what was really happening. A president had turned war machine. His advisors worried it was wasteful, that foreign media would mock it as reckless. And indeed, Western headlines sneered, seeds from the sky, Burkina Faso's agricultural circus. Diplomats whispered about wasted resources. But outside the capital, in dusty villages where people struggled daily with hunger, the response was completely different. For the first time, poor farmers felt included in the nation's destiny. One farmer told a journalist, "No president ever gave us tools. This one gave us seeds. He tells us we matter." Villagers began calling the helicopters machines of life. Then nature itself joined the drama. Rain swept across the plains, germinating thousands of seeds. Within weeks, green shoots pierced the soil. By the second month, sunflower stalks were rising strong and tall, proving more resilient than maize or sorghum, surviving even in dry stretches. Agricultural workers confirmed it. Germination rates were higher than expected. Photos of the young sunflower fields spread across social media, turning doubt into cautious curiosity. And then, after 3 months, it happened. The first golden blooms appeared. Villages that had been barren were suddenly glowing with yellow flowers stretching to the horizon. By 6 months, vast seas of gold blanketed the land, a sight unlike anything Burkina Faso had ever seen. Tourists began arriving from neighboring countries just to witness it. Local youths started guiding visitors through the fields, selling photos, even opening small cafes and shops. Bouquets of sunflowers appeared in markets and towns. What began as a desperate gamble for food sovereignty had given birth to something new: hope, pride, and even tourism. For Traore, the blooming fields were vindication. He hadn't just gambled on a crop, he had gambled on a vision. A vision that one bold act could ripple through every corner of society. Yes, there were problems. Many seeds had fallen on rocky soil, on roadsides, or in areas where rain never came. Critics quickly pounced, calling it reckless. Foreign analysts dismissed it as unsustainable without expensive irrigation systems. NGOs warned it could hurt biodiversity, but Traore met these criticisms with calm honesty and sharp wit. On national television he admitted, yes, some seeds will not grow, but those that do will feed our people, light our kitchens, and free us from dependency. If 10 million seeds fall and only half survive, that is still 5 million victories. His frankness disarmed opponents. Instead of pretending perfection, he embraced risk and in doing so, inspired his citizens. Behind the scenes, the government moved fast to build on the experiment. Farmers were organized into cooperatives to press oil from harvested seeds. Small-scale oil mills, imported from India and China, were installed in rural towns and run by trained young people. The leftover seed cake went to livestock herders, who quickly noticed their animals growing stronger and producing more milk. Nutritionists celebrated as families began cooking with affordable, locally produced oil. What had started as a rain of seeds from helicopters was now blossoming into a diverse economic ecosystem. Villages pressed oil. Herders fattened cattle. Women's cooperatives sold honey from bees that thrived in the sunflower fields. Entrepreneurs even began experimenting with sunflower-based cosmetics. And slowly, the world took notice. The laughter of skeptics turned to unease. Neighboring West African nations began considering their own sunflower revolutions. Global vegetable oil traders, once confident in their control, started to worry about competition from a country they had long dismissed. Burkina Faso, once an importer, now threatened to become a supplier. Western diplomats who once mocked the project quietly returned, offering technical assistance. But Traore, with his trademark smile, declined most offers. "We do not need experts to tell us how to grow flowers," he quipped. The message was clear: Burkina Faso would chart its own path. As the golden fields spread across the land, so too did pride. Poets wrote verses about the golden army of Traore. Musicians composed songs celebrating the flower that fed both stomachs and souls. Painters captured the sunflower fields as symbols of renewal. Children who once saw only dust now grew up surrounded by seas of color, asking their parents why this had never happened before. The sunflower had become more than a crop. It was a symbol of defiance, dignity, and hope. And that was Traore's true genius. He had taken a simple seed and turned it into a story. A story that gave power to a nation. By the second year, what had begun as a shocking spectacle of helicopters scattering seeds had become something enduring, an agricultural transformation visible in the fields, and measurable in the economy. Fields that were once barren under the burning Sahel sun had transformed into seas of yellow sunflowers stretching beyond the horizon, shimmering like rivers of gold. The sight alone lifted national morale. But it wasn't just beauty that mattered, it was results. Within 2 years, Burkina Faso's Ministry of Agriculture reported a sharp rise in domestic vegetable oil production. Local mills were pressing sunflower seeds into oil, bottled under the brand name Weso, and lining market shelves that had once been stocked only with imports. Housewives immediately noticed the difference. This oil was nearly half the price of imported brands, fresher, and always available. Vendors, once frustrated by unstable supply, now sold with pride, telling customers, "This is ours, grown from our soil, born from our skies." Soon, a new slogan spread through markets and political speeches alike: oil of sovereignty. Independence could now be poured straight into a frying pan. But the impact went far beyond the kitchen. The leftover seed cake from oil pressing, rich in protein, proved a game-changer for herders. Traditionally, cattle and goats survived on poor grazing, producing little milk and tough meat. But with seed cake in their diet, animals grew stronger, milk production rose, and meat quality improved. Pastoralists who had once struggled at the margins now found themselves in demand as traders competed for healthier livestock. What began as a solution to cooking oil dependency had sparked a livestock revolution, raising incomes, improving nutrition, and transforming rural life. Economists called it a multiplier effect. Villagers called it something simpler: life was getting better. The land itself began to heal. Sunflowers, with their deep roots, stabilized fragile soils, reduced erosion, and restored fertility. Farmers who planted millet and sorghum alongside them noticed higher yields. Scientists confirmed it, the sunflowers were not only feeding people but revitalizing the earth, acting as a natural defense against desertification. Traore seized on this message. At a rally he declared, "They told us the desert would win. But we have planted gold, gold that feeds both our people and our land." The crowd erupted, chanting Solio Faso, the son of Faso. A new patriotic phrase was born. And beyond agriculture, something unexpected happened. Those golden fields became destinations of their own. Tourists began arriving to witness the breathtaking landscapes, turning a political gamble into not just food security, but culture, pride, and even a new stream of income. Burkina Faso had planted more than sunflowers. It had planted sovereignty.